More than 700 million people around the world live in extreme poverty, surviving on less than $2 a day. The UN has committed to eradicating extreme poverty by 2030, with 193 countries, including Australia, signed up to do their bit. Global Citizen has identified critical areas that require urgent action to meet this goal, the subject of a new TV series using celebrity power to inspire governments, policymakers and individuals to act. Madge Thomas from Global Citizen headquarters joins us now live from New York. Madge, thank you so much for your time. So I know your aim at Global Citizen is to eradicate global poverty by 2030. How achievable is this?
Well, look, it's definitely achievable, but we have to get all the components right to do that. And one of the key elements of it is activating everyday citizens. And that's everyone from, Cassie in Melbourne all the way through to Hugh Jackman, who you'll see, in a series that we're about to put out. So our whole movement is about that citizen action that then calls on world leaders to make the multi-million and billion-dollar commitments that will end extreme poverty. So that's the first component. And the second is that none of us can do it alone. So you need partnership. You need the private sector, you need governments, you need individuals. And that's why, we're really excited about new partnerships that we've formed, like a new partnership with Procter & Gamble and National Geographic, to really bring these issues that affect extreme poverty to light so that we can tell the stories of people suffering from extreme poverty and encourage people to take those actions and call on their leaders to do something about it.
Yeah, as you say, Global Citizen has partnered with National Geographic. You've created a documentary series on the root causes of extreme poverty. Before we talk further about that, let's have a brief look.
Sometimes it falls upon a generation to be great. You can be that great generation.
We can get just one more girl into school every day and change the world.
We have to look at the things we take for granted, like waste.
It really is up to us, the governments and corporates, to be able to provide aid.
This campaign is not just important, it's critical and crucial.
You have an immense social following, and so we'd love your help.
You can count on me for that.
We heard from our very own Hugh Jackman there, of course, and he's just one of several celebrities that you've enlisted to help champion this Global Citizen message, the likes of Usher, Pharrell Williams, Priyanka Chopra Jonas, we saw her there as well. How effective is this celebrity power in the fight to end poverty?
Hugely effective. I mean, your point is exactly it. They're recognisable faces, and to them talking about these issues lends the issue itself and Global Citizens activation a huge microphone and amplification to get millions of people reaching out via their platforms and calling on world leaders. So they really give this megaphone and extra amplification to the issues. And on top of that, the power of celebrity, other than these are extremely genuinely motivated people that believe in the issues, is that it's not political, that people relate to people like Hugh Jackman and Priyanka Chopra Jonas and others because they value them as celebrities, and so they engage with the issues regardless of what their diversity or the political spectrum might be. So it's a great entry point for us.
You've identified in the doco 6 root causes of extreme poverty. One of these is lack of education. People may not instantly think of that as contributing to poverty. That episode is called Education Cannot Wait. Let's have another look at the doco.
Children are the most vulnerable in a crisis.
There are so many children going without education. It's unacceptable, and there is something that we can do.
You're calling for all children to be educated around the world, no matter what their circumstances. It hardly sounds like a big ask. What impact would this have if more children, at least, were educated?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think coming back to your previous point, this is why it's so important to have celebrities see these issues that people don't instantly think of and amplify them, because the truth is there's 264 million children right now that aren't being educated and that are out of school. And what that means is it's a huge impact on a country's overall economic potential. It also means that they're much more at risk to things like child labour, child marriage, exploitation, recruitment by armed groups. And so education, really, people don't think of it first, but it has a life-saving as well as a life-building impact. And in situations of conflict and crisis, which this episode touches on, it actually means it's the reason why people flee a lot of the time from conflict and crisis, to find a better place and a better hope for their kids. And if we can address the root causes like education and make sure there's opportunity for every child everywhere, those risks that parents flee from and that kids are traumatised by won't keep them out of school, and will ensure that they can actually see a future where they're contributing to the global economy, rather than us losing generation on generation as we currently are with a wave of natural disasters and crisis. So that's why we're fighting for an organisation called Education Cannot Wait in this episode that will try and get 75 million kids in conflict and crisis back in school and learning.
And keeping girls in school is a particular problem. I know many girls in developing countries are missing school because of what's called period poverty, because they can't afford sanitary products. This seems like a simple solution, is it?
Well, I mean, it's not even a simple problem at the moment because, you know, similar to education, people don't always think of something like menstruation when they're thinking about poverty, but they're deeply connected, because in many parts of the world, things that we take for granted, like access to sanitary products, learning about menstrual health and menstrual hygiene, and simply having things like gender-separated toilets in schools and communities and workplaces just don't exist because of the other challenges, the infrastructure and the poor finances, frankly. So it's an issue that really in many parts of the developing world is keeping girls out of school 7 days or more every month, because they're so ashamed that they don't know how to manage their periods, something as simple as their periods, and it's a taboo topic for their community. So their communities, as well as they themselves, choose to be out of school and not face the indignity of it. So it's something that one of the episodes will cover, and you'll see how many girls that's affecting. And we know that an educated girl can actually have an even bigger impact on the economy and on her family and her children's health and future prospects. So it's critical to make sure that barriers like education for girls and like menstruation aren't keeping them out of school. So that's why we're running this campaign called It's Bloody Time that we focus on in the episode. And it's an issue, frankly, that also, it affects people other parts of the world as well, not just in developing countries. So it's something we need to start talking more about and breaking the taboos on.
We should also, Madge, focus on the good news here, and that is that there are more and more people being lifted out of poverty. What are the figures on that?
Yeah, well, we talked before about education. Well, we know that since the Millennium Development Goals were introduced, we've had a huge surge of kids getting back into primary education, but the hurdle is actually secondary education, so making sure that kids are still in secondary school. But we've seen improvements in getting over 200 million children back in school at the primary level. We've cut maternal deaths and child mortality almost in half since we started working on this agenda that the UN has developed, the Millennium Development Goals and now the Sustainable Development Goals. So there is progress being made, and we at Global Citizen have seen that too. I mean, we track every commitment that's been made on our stage, and we know that so far those commitments by world leaders have raised over $40 billion and have impacted over 2.5 billion lives. So we know that the steps that are taken are working, but it requires, as I said at the start, everyone to work together, and that's why it's so important that an organisation like Procter & Gamble has really stood up and started telling these stories, because, as I said, the private sector is going to be integral in the fight in the next 10 years to get this done by 2030. And we need to be telling these stories of the people and the human faces that are affected by these issues every day to keep up that progress and not to go backwards.
Well, each episode of Activate ends with a call to action, and obviously that's policymakers, it's governments, but what about individuals? How can people make a difference?
Absolutely. Well, one of the easiest ways for individuals to take a difference is to look at the call to action that comes with every episode, because there is one. We want people to see these stories, but then be encouraged and excited to take action and make a difference. And just by using your voice and calling on a world leader to, for example, make a $1 billion or a multi-million-dollar commitment to the Global Partnership for Education, or Education Cannot Wait, you can actually make a difference and influence the direction and the aid investment that leaders are thinking about making already. In terms of also individual actions, there's areas like environmental sustainability where every individual's personal behaviour can actually make a difference as well. And one of the episodes you'll see is about plastic pollution. And what we're hearing is really, that's encouraged people to rethink how they actually use and reuse their waste and how they dispose of it. So, it's everything from your individual day-to-day actions, but also the actions that via globalcitizen.org you can take on our platform. That individuals can make a huge difference, and it's that groundswell that we create when there's over 20 million global citizens around the world every month taking action that can really, really change the course of leadership.
Well, it's an amazing series, and it goes to air as of Monday night on the National Geographic Channel. We've been running those details on the screen. Madge Thomas, thank you so much for your time.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you for having me.